Good morning and happy full moon in Leo, everybody. I am recording this the morning of the full moon, January 25th, 2024. However, you guys might not be listening to it until tonight because, of course, the recording has been a typical full moon where you just have to kind of be flexible and allow life to unfold right in front of you, however it is, the minor things, the big things, living life on life terms. And I let my kid's father borrow my recording equipment. I have a road coaster. I love it. It's amazing. It's easy. And he took it for the weekend. And then there was just crazy schedules trying to get it back. And when I put it together last night, it was like everything just felt off, everything was like out of its way and the buttons were off and everything was different. And of course, he forgot to pack the wire that uploads from my road coaster into my computer. So at some point today, I'm going to get that from him, and then I'm going to post this episode. So again, I'm recording it the morning of the full moon. However, you guys might not be listening to it till tonight, but that is okay because we're going to be feeling this energy this whole weekend. I'm going to be talking about the energy of this weekend. And now we are on our way. We're releasing and we're on our way now from the release to a brand new cycle. So those 2 weeks between the full moon and the new moon, you shed. You are in that rebirth energy. And sometimes it's big and sometimes it's small within that. Just remember, not every single full moon, new moon is going to feel so, it's not going to always show up with like, oh my God, the sky has opened up and everything unfolded and all the awareness. Sometimes it just shows up in tiny little moments. But if we pay attention, we get a greater idea about how these planets work, especially for those of you who listen or are just kind of learning and being open to understanding the depths of astrology. So again, this week we got the full moon in Leo, and we're in here. We're in this energy for 2.5 days, but there is an exact time. And so as the full moon in Leo is approaching and we're almost exact, the moon will go opposite. The moon in Leo will go opposite Pluto in Aquarius now that Pluto has moved into Aquarius this past weekend. If you remember, we had the conjunction and then both moved into Aquarius. And then right after that, right after the exact, but again, we'll still be in that full moon energy, the full moon will square Jupiter in Taurus. So I don't know, it's kind of like a very powerful, it's in two fixed signs, Leo and Aquarius. So that means that the sun is in Aquarius and then one opposite, the moon right now, that is in Leo. So for those of you, I know a lot of you know, but again, I like to fill in for those of you who are not totally sure. So now we have the full moon. We have Pluto in Aquarius, and then we have Jupiter and Taurus, so both of those are going to be squaring Jupiter because this weekend, right after the moon will first square Jupiter, and then the sun will square Jupiter this weekend. So we got and Uranus in Taurus stations direct. I feel, and then Mercury conjuncts Mars in Capricorn. So it is a very powerful and dynamic weekend. However, I feel like the words success come to me, like getting something done. Oh, what's the word that I'm trying? That's not the word I'm trying to search for, but like especially having Mars exalted in Capricorn. Mars is happy in Capricorn. We got Mercury direct right now. Efficient studying, efficient learning, efficient working. Like the things you want to do might not be easy, but you're very efficient, or it just works well. You kind of have that soldier strong, very fixed nature, which I kind of love. And then we have Uranus stationing direct, so I just sort of feel like there's this constructive, strong, powerful energy, right? It may be like a big, there might be something with like a big bang, but then there is this like, all right, now we can really power through something, with this stronger energy we have. And one of the big themes for this full moon that's coming to me is really power plays, right? We got the full moon in Leo, which is illuminating some of our ego traits, right? It's not just like I'm attacking Leos and their ego, but in astrology, they're the sun, they're the spirit, they are the ego. So, there's a lot of beautiful, powerful things about that. But at the same time, when we have a full moon, especially for my fixed placements, because right now it's happening in your angular houses, your most powerful houses, there's this illuminating where we kind of see our ego, and maybe it's not always bad. It doesn't mean it's coming in vain. It might be like, do I really, like this person, or is it just like my ego needs them to like me, right? It can show up in some sort of form in that area. So again, when the full moon is in Leo, they're very powerful, but it's often bringing about uncomfortable feelings that have us questioning, like I said, the nature of our desires with the soul, with the spirit, with the sun, with Leo. Ooh, what are we hungry for? What are our desires? What are we yearning for? And are yearning for. If you remember, now let's go back 6 months to this 6 month cycle, right? So the last time the sun was then in Leo and the moon was in Aquarius, okay? So again, creating that full moon. So we had the full moon in Aquarius, but both are relating to each other because they're both are now flipped the script on the other side, and one is the sun, one is the moon, illuminating each other. So back then too, we had Venus really retro, like when we had that full moon in Leo, when we had that full moon in Aquarius, Venus was really pretty, she was pretty deep into her retrograde by then, right in the middle of it, and in the sign of Leo. So again, that really right then we had sort of a vision, but it wasn't like that soldier through, I see it, that's power through, is more like confusion. And around again desires, love, our own beauty, our own aesthetic, our own sexuality, all of those things were shifting around a little bit. And again, for the mutable cardinal signs, it was maybe on a smaller scale, but for my fixed signs, it was on a big scale, especially for my Leo and Aquarius placements. So now here we are 6 months later. And we got a little bit of a view with that opposition with Pluto too of those desires again. How do you feel? Do you still feel the same way you did in the summertime? Does it feel different? Does it feel better? Does it feel worse? Does it feel more aligned with who you are, your soul? Or do you still feel in the same place? That can happen too. Sometimes, we're stuck and we're just not seeing what we need to see to move forward through that. And so maybe you're having that experience with this full moon. Now, again, we have a freshly ingressed Pluto in Aquarius, revealing to us, again, the more shadows of our desire, or at least the deep, deep, deep hidden parts of our desire are those things that we desire. And if we sit with ourselves, again, we can ask ourselves, what are we doing this for? How does it make us feel? The pain is usually the ego, and the spirit can feel pain, but that's a whole other conversation. Yet that's really, though, when it feels like that, it doesn't feel painful. It feels light. It feels free. It feels peaceful. And so really sit with yourself and really align your life with what you desire right now, or at least seek, understand about if those two things line up, the desires and our own life purpose, fulfillment, or alignment. And just for today, right? All those things definitely can change monthly, weekly, yearly. If you're a mutable sign, it changes all the time. If you got a lot of fixed signs, it doesn't change so much. So here are some of the themes. Again, getting uncomfortable with your shadows, power plays, letting go of old desires within ourselves. Again, that's fresh. Maybe those old desires came to a head with the full moon in Aquarius in August and Venus retrograde, and now you're really removing or letting go those desires, or any maybe a little bit last strains of those desires now being removed. Finding hidden power deep inside of you. This would be a great time to just sort of have a full moon release, but also like within that release, bringing out that power that you have hidden deep, deep, deep inside of you, bringing that power out. Greed behaviors are exposed, unleashing emotions, words, patterns that are true to you, but you previously were afraid to maybe show them because of the fear of not being liked because of that. That's very Leo-esque. They love to be liked and they want to be liked. That's very true to that Leo energy. You're the spirit, you're the sun, you bring people together. So you want to be liked. And sometimes we hide those things because we're afraid if we show up with these words, patterns, emotions, that someone is not going to like us. But remember, the more true, the more authentic that you are, the more you will align yourself with those people who find you. I know I meet people, and I'm definitely way too much for, especially a lot of water signs. That's really, I'm too, some earth, but they can handle me way better. I'm definitely can be way too much for a lot of water signs. Hey, I just come in really strong, sarcastic. If you know me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What? Here we go. But you know what? I don't give a fuck. That's where I was getting at. I don't give a fuck. And I've aligned myself. The universe has helped me align with amazing people who kind of think like me, and not exactly. Sometimes they think opposite of me, but they definitely have a little bit of that energy of like they can just be who they want to be. Finding shout out to my fire signs. Finding out how your ego is in contradiction with your spirit self. That's another one. Again, going back to that contradiction, like you're saying these things or you want that, but like a whole other side of you is saying, no, 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 this is what we really want. This is what we really want. And it can be a little bit tricky. These themes are also, again, going to be part of the full moon squaring. The moon itself will be squaring, the full moon itself will be squaring Jupiter. And then this weekend, the sun, just a few hours later, will also be squaring Jupiter. And okay, so we talked about that 6-month cycle. Definitely seriously go back to that and reflect, especially for my Leo and Aquarius placements. Those you guys really need to go to that. And again, with that last moon, a lot of these things are going to be around the desires, the things that will be exposed, desires, love, sex, beauty, friendship. What has changed? What has changed within yourself and what has changed without that? And sit with yourself again. And if it's something you're not quite sure if you feel right about, sit and really focus. Ego or spirit? Now, the Sun square Jupiter coming in on Saturday. We'll start feeling again with this full moon is going to kind of unleash all of that. And Uranus stationing direct at the same time as this happening. I think that first of all, there's going to be a little bit of like reactions to teasing or an interaction that doesn't feel grounded. It was interesting with this transit. I was thinking about my children, and my children both have a lot of Aquarius and they have a lot of Taurus placements, and they square each other and like in almost and their moons square each other in cardinal places. So for me, I was like, well, let me also reflect on this transit with the moon, with all those squares happening. That what does this energy look like just with looking at my children, right, and watching them and how they interact, because they have a very friction relationship of extremely friction, like just like you'd say squares all the way. And so there's a few things I got, and I find that like I was looking at Aquarius energy and opposite Taurus energy again. It's so big in my face with my kids' charts that I could just watch that and I learned from that. So reactions to a tease or an interaction that doesn't feel grounded. Aquarius, they can have that lighthearted, airy, and with a little Uranus in there too, that kind of like reactive. They like to see the reactions in other. They just want to like plant a little seed, kind of like come in very airy and then boom, see the reaction just for fun or play or whatever's going on in that subconscious. And or they can just be really, they're not serious, they're not listening, they're not paying attention, especially compared to Taurus energy, which loves to feel grounded, it loves to feel secure, it loves to feel understood, it loves to know in that moment you're listening, you're taking it all in. And there can be friction or tension around those things, those two energies meeting and not matching. Like, hey, no, in this moment I need to feel your grounded energy instead of you just being so aloof and all over the place. Again, power plays, especially around control, are going to be a big one. Feeling annoyed around that aloof energy can be one, or maybe even some of my aloof people, my airy people, you guys might be feeling a little bit more like, oh God, this person's like a stick in the mud. They're too grounded. They need to be lightened up. And maybe those two energies can merge together and both learn to take a little bit from each, right? The airy Aquarius energy can learn to ground themselves a little bit more, relax themselves a little bit more. And the Taurus energy, right, that grounded energy can sometimes learn to loosen up a little bit, right? Let things go, not be so stubborn and how. So maybe within those lessons, if they show up for you, you can learn how to be like the other a little bit. We can each, right? We have that opposition, but we also have that similarities, and within that opposition, there's a little bit that each, especially in those fixed signs, need to take on of the other. The mutable signs do that very easily. They can be opposite, yet they can take on the same energy, right? The Gemini and the Sagittarius, the Pisces and the Virgo. However, they're mutable. That's their job. They can switch and take on. The fixed signs, that isn't so much the case. So it doesn't come naturally. You stay more the other, the more the other person goes into their energy, you want to go into yours, right? You don't want to budge. So maybe you both or these energies that show up in your life, however it shows up, maybe personally, maybe out in the collective, maybe at work, maybe with the kids, whatever, both can learn how to be the other in the best of ways, and just those little tiny ways. And um I feel like it's gonna be kind of like a quirky energy, and a quirky energy this weekend, like both, right? Maybe you get yourself a little more serious. Like I said, this is kind of like proactive, productive energy. You get yourself a little more serious, or you loosen up and you realize, hey, there's a lot of groundwork that I need to have a little more fun and to loosen up in life so things just flow, or I allow them to flow. A sudden drive for a spiritual rebirth, especially after this full moon and this weekend, like just that real fast drive to just get that rebirth done. And now, so we have Mercury conjunct Mars, and it's in the sign of Capricorn. So yes, at first you can go to like, oh my God, that news of like, something's ending, something's gone forever, something's done, because it's in the sign of Capricorn, right? The ruler of death, the ruler of sort of this endings, but more that transient line beyond, what is beyond the ending? What is beyond what we think is the ending? Because every ending brings a new beginning. So there can be this like, oh God, once it's done, it's done. But I really love that Mercury is moving is already direct, right? It's ahead now. It's out of its retrograde. So it came back around. Started its retrograde, stationed retrograde in Capricorn, went to Sagittarius, and then stationed direct and moved back into Capricorn. So, right, it's more constructive now. It's not so off the handle. It's not wanting to resort or revert back into like hidden, sad, woe is me energy. It's ready to be productive. And then it comes into Mars, and Mars is doing really well. Mars is very well in Capricorn. And again, it's a structured power force. So there's this conjunction there, and then it's like they move forward and things are getting done. Right? If you're getting that come to Jesus energy of what you need to change in your life, you're feeling good about it. You're ready to make those changes. You're ready to strive in life. You're ready to move forward and power on. So there's just a lot of constructive, powerful energy with like your words, with your moves in life. Maybe you'll even just get like your home situated so you're feeling right. Sorry. There's just a lot of powerful energy there. All right, that's what I have for you guys. Sorry, like I said, life has been crazy. I know I'm saying it, but I'm just living life on life's terms, and I know it won't always be like this. So I try to get my episodes out by Monday or Tuesday. It hasn't happened this week, but I trust in divine timing, and it's happening just as it should. And hold that message closely to you. It's happening just as it should. Everything that you're trying to rush or, control, just remember, let go. It's happening exactly the way it should. Love you all. Happy full moon.